What's up? What's up? It's time for Done Way Past Funny with your host, G.D. Fenderson. Join us as we take a look back at the early works of seasoned comedians before they were seasoned with this week's guest, Matt Nappo. It's time to get down and get dope with Done Way Past Funny. Hi, I'm G.D. Fenderson, certified forensic humorist at large, but I'm losing weight. My special guest this episode is the host of Coffee with the Dog, Matt Nappo. Hey, how's it going, Matt?
Good to be with you, GD. I like that music. Did you do the music on the intro?
I would love to take claim for it. I actually just found it. It's part of the music selection that you get when you get a software. So it's just part of my software.
Very cool. I love it.
And I auditioned a lot of songs that weren't mine, but this is the first time I've ever used a song in one of my shows that wasn't one of my own songs.
Wow. Yeah, I'm kind of weird about that. I'm always doing all my own tracks and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to kind of have the same stuff that other people have on there. So
yeah, same thing. It's that exact same feeling. So Matt, let's see here. Host of Coffee with the Dog. If you don't mind telling people a little bit about yourself, a little brief bio.
Okay. I started as a musician and as a teenager. At some point along the line, I also became a magician. I was a musician and a magician. And then somewhere in my mid-20s, I got into radio and started doing radio. And at the same time, I was into paranormal stuff. So I did a radio show that featured a lot of paranormal guests, ghost hunters, UFO, Bigfoot, all that stuff and more. Then I had a TV show after that. I got thrown off the radio for too many F-bombs, and the FTC fined me. We didn't have a 7-second delay. And then I had a television show, a leased access show, which is like public access, except you're your own network. You buy and sell advertisers and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And did that for a couple of years, and then got banned from that network for being a little over the edge too. And then basically I played in bands my whole life. Somewhere in around 2017, somewhere around that, I started wanting to get back into radio. I was sending around audition tapes, and then I decided to become a podcaster, live streamer, and have been doing that since 2018, the beginning of 2018. Been doing Mind Dog TV and Coffee with the Dog. Mind Dog TV is more authors and still some paranormal people and that kind of stuff. And then Coffee with the Dog is a daily morning show, much like a radio drive time show. And during the pandemic, I was doing 3 shows a week, 7 days a week, morning, afternoon, and evening.
Now, okay, so I'm assuming that. Well, how did you the moniker the dog? Because and you're spelling it the regular way, the DOG way. So how did that become your moniker?
Well, my brother was known as Mad Dog, and he got
Okay.
into a lot of fights. And then he went away to the Marines, and people started calling me Mad Dog Jr. And then at the same time, I got into magic and mentalism. And they started calling, well, Mind Dog, you're not Mad Dog anymore, you're Mind Dog. And that kind of stuck. Mind Dog is your mind's best friend. So the dog comes from Mind Dog, which is a derivative of Mad Dog.
It's funny, see, because I got the what's it called, the word, the etymology all backwards, because I just assumed that dog came first and Mind Dog was like, no, but it's the other way around. So okay. It's funny because I did study metaphysics for like 4.5 years. I became an ordained minister. I used to be part of the Theosophical Society.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, and I don't know if that means anything to people out there, but that's like old school, stuff. People like you may know about the Theosophical Society and stuff.
Yeah,
like
there's so many of those kind of outreaches, and outliers within the paranormal and spiritual fields and metaphysical fields that
Right.
it, possible for kind of everyday folks to know about all of them because there's so many different kind of branches and things. But yeah, there's a lot of schools of thought out there. I have talked to people with the most diverse beliefs, and I've actually had people in the studio who were aliens, said they were aliens. I had a guy
Yeah.
who said he had been to Mars. He met Elvis and Jesus on Mars. I uh, I had vampires in the studio.
Now, we're actually we're dealing with those people who prepare you to deal with comedians also. But but how do you, as a general rule of thumb, because to interview these people, you don't always have to believe in what they're selling. But if you're to do a good interview, you kind of at least have to take it where you're asking questions as if they were credible answers. I guess if that's correct. Like for example, I don't know if you believe in Bigfoot or not. Never asked you. That's not something we ever discussed. But if you don't believe in Bigfoot and you're interviewing someone who does believe in Bigfoot, and you're trying to keep it on a respectful level, like I'm just saying, I'm just asking, or do you?
I don't. Uh, I tell them up front that I'm a skeptic. I have, over 45 years of doing this stuff. I have gone through every phase of belief, non-belief, devout belief to complete skeptic and cynic and everywhere in between, trying to keep an open mind, but realizing that an open mind can be a dangerous thing if it's too open and you're
Yeah.
just letting any kind of ideas come in. So I tell them right up front, I'm going to be skeptical about everything. I'm going to ask questions. I believe in healthy skepticism about everything. I don't claim to have the answers on anything, but I do have a big fat nose, and it's getting bigger and bigger every day. I don't know if you're going through this, but I look at pictures of myself when I was a teenager. My nose was small. Now it's like this, and it sniffs out bullshit. Can I say bullshit on here?
You can say anything. You can say literally anything you want. I have.
So it's getting bigger and more susceptible to bullshit immediately. And then I'm not going to, because if it's too far out there, I'm going to say that's ridiculous. You can't be a conspiracy theory and not have anything to back it up, but conjecture and all these kind of crazy ideas about it. I had a woman who said she was assaulted in her hotel room. Her husband watched the whole thing by aliens who did brain surgery on her and made her into a psychic. While her husband watched this thing, did brain surgery on her, and then she became psychic because of the whatever they put in her brain. She wrote a book about that, and none of it was making any sense to me, and I was pushing back very hard. And she said she appreciated that I was open and honest, that I think she's crazy and she's a little delusional, and but on the same level, the problem is when you're spreading this stuff. But if you uh, buy into a belief and it helps you get through life, knock yourself out with it. I'm
Right.
not going to convince you you're crazy.
Right.
Who knows that I'm reality is really really you know gentle thing that can be broken, and your perspective on reality can be break at any moment. So fragile is the word I'm looking for. Reality can be a very fragile concept.
Yeah, and once it's if you for most people having their belief system shaken. I mean, if there's something that they really really believe in, and it's like the first time a child finds out there's no Santa Claus,
Right,
no, or no Easter Bunny, or no Tooth Fairy. It's like, wait a second, you know, what do I do with my teeth now?
right. Well, you know what? I think we poison the world when we tell kids lies that they're gonna figure out our lies eventually
Yes.
anyway. And but we're not stopping as generation. You get older, you get to this age, and you look back and you're a grandparent, and you see this happening on the next generation, and you say, "Well, that was a mistake. I should not have lied to my kid because then they have this perception that mom and dad lie to me. Well, I can't believe what they say."
Yeah.
But we keep doing it. We're gonna keep doing it for
Well,
eons.
well, I have to. I'm going to say I've helped to raise 3.5 children. I won't say that because it, three and a half. Yeah, I've helped to raise three and a half children, and they. One of the things, one of my pacts was I would never lie to them. So I never, so I never. There was never any Santa Claus, never any Easter Bunny,
Good for you.
never any. And as far as God goes, we'll see. You figure it out.
Yeah, yeah,
I said because I don't claim to know everything, but and if I don't know, I'll tell you. I don't know. We'll figure it out together.
yeah.
Yeah.
I do. On the God thing, I am completely open-minded to the idea that there is a creator or some intelligent, you know, I'm open to it. I'm not necessarily a believer in it, but I will call people out when they start giving me the old grandpa with the white beard, who micromanages everything, who loves you completely, but will punish you if you don't worship him enough or honor him enough. It's like, this is all conflicting to me. Stop with your ideas about what it is. We can agree there might be something out there, there might be not be. Well, I don't think we'll ever figure it out in this lifetime, but don't sell me on, again, bullshit like fairy tales and old white dudes with the big white beard.
Yeah, yeah.
Why would why would God, if it be like one of us, look like one of us when we're all so different?
Exactly, exactly. And besides, to be honest, I think if God has a look, it's like a platypus, which the only reason why the platypus looks like that is because it looks like something else.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's just like
yeah.
so, but um, so uh, now let's talk. Oh, I remember we are both like the youngest, and you were at one point. People thought you were going to be like the first one to die in your group.
Right.
Why would they think that you'd be the first to go?
Oh, I was trouble. Well, and this is something because before we were on the air, we were talking about maybe saying things that you shouldn't say. I don't care about this. I've said this a million times. Um,
Mm,
I grew up in a really, really strange, dysfunctional, and everybody can say dysfunctional parenting, dysfunctional families.
right.
My parents lost me at a racetrack when I was 3 years old, and I ended up
Betting,
with, huh?
betting.
No, I walked away from them,
Oh, so
and
they didn't bet you on a horse, and
no,
then
no,
that's how. Oh, okay.
no, I walked away from them and ended up with a Chinese family for living with a Chinese family for a week before I was found at 3 years old. My father was a crazy, crazy person who set himself on fire and was he was in the mob on a low level but racketeering. He ran a gambling operation, and so when I came home from school in ninth grade one day, both my parents were in prison, were in jail, and the FBI had them on RICO charges. They were playing back wiretaps on them, and my parents were interested, and this is how I found out they really cared about me. All they were interested in was listening to the tapes of my drug deals, not the evidence that in- implicated them in RICO charges. So you can imagine that somebody with that kind of upbringing. So I ran away from home. Shortly after that, I put myself through high school, picking oranges in the daytime and going to night school in Lake Wales, Florida. Then I went out to New Mexico. I went to college out there, again, working cattle ranches and that kind of stuff. All, you know, um, odd things that could get you killed, especially if you're a lone kid and with no guidance and no compass, none of that kind of stuff. So and had a reputation for doing wild things. Like I did a lot of drugs when I was young. I did a lot of bad things. I brought up in a criminal neighborhood with a lot of criminal friends. Um, you get in trouble. So yeah, people thought I would be dead pretty young. It's amazing that I wasn't, came very close so many times. And, you both talk about destiny, fate, or whatever. Somehow just missed getting killed so many times. But for one small decision, I would have been dead 100 times over.
Man, my father was a numbers runner. My father was a numbers runner in Baltimore,
Wow.
And so it's just funny that we both have criminal genes.
You know, a lot of people do, and this is part of what I, kind of been thinking about lately, because we talk about, what are America's core values? They're not good, but
Right,
when you come from now, you come from African American roots, right?
right.
Right. So you're going to understand the struggle that poor people and you're trying to lift yourself up. Immigrants have this had the same kind of thing, not to the extent that African Americans did with slavery, but the idea of starting from the bottom, and sometimes you get mixed in with criminal elements, even if you try to avoid it, and people get sucked into that life. And I don't know how I escaped it. I ran away from home. It was how I escaped it. The simple answer, but it could definitely be me. I could be a criminal today. And so when we talk about America, American core values and that kind of stuff, a lot of us came from those neighborhoods where uh, crime and the easy way out and all that kind of seductive, I don't have to play by the rules ideas could have definitely still be part of a lot of it, but we grew out of it. So you have to expect a little bit of that when you're starting at the bottom of, I'm going on immigration here, but if you're starting at the bottom picking fruit for a living and you're working 14 hours a day for $1 an hour, uh yeah, it's tempting to shoplift or whatever you got to do, or run some numbers, or whatever you got to sell a little weed, whatever, coke, whatever, to get by. It's just part of the life. It's not in the people, it's in the system that starts you at the bottom and destitute and desperate just to get by.
Yeah. Now, when you were okay, because did you grow? Were you, I thought you were born in New Mexico, but you were
No,
born in.
I was born in a place called Copiague, Long Island, which is very Long Island, New York, which is very Italian. The section I was growing up in was the American Venice. It used to be Marconiville,
Oh,
and it
okay.
was all Italian American immigrants who came from Brooklyn mostly, and the Bronx, settled in this area, and it was all either mob connected, mob wannabes, that kind of stuff. And then the black people lived north of the tracks.
Oh, okay. Because
It
I
was
was trying
Italians
to.
and blacks.
So when you were in New Mexico, is that Portales? Is that how that?
Portales, yeah,
Portales, and that's like pretty close to Texas.
yeah. It's
So
it's
go
called
ahead.
the portal.
Okay, yeah. So, but you moved to New Mexico when you were older.
17. When I graduated high school, I went out there to go to college.
Okay, so was being that close to Texas, did that like affect you in a negative way? Being
Yeah, that was a really wild experience. I mean, a wild time in my life, because I had never seen flatland and all that kind of stuff before. And listen, the parts of Texas, that West Texas, it was 110 miles to Lubbock and 120 miles to Amarillo from where we were. Portales had a small town. It was mostly college students. When the college kids went home, it was like population 400 or something. When the college
Mhm.
kids were there, it was like 4,000 or 400 or
Okay,
something. So it was mostly college kids. And then if you wanted, it was a dry state when I was there. So you couldn't buy liquor. If you wanted it, you had to hitchhike or get a ride to Lubbock, Texas, to buy in a package store there, or Amarillo. Those weren't big towns either. It was all, so no, it affected me almost. It, non-affected me in any way other than learning the lifestyle of that part of the country. It's totally different. It wasn't as deeply flag waving America as it was. Texas was still kind of rebel at the
right,
point. Remember, Texas's roots were not flag waving Americans. They were
right,
they were
yeah, yeah,
flag waving Texans. They were proud of Texas, not the United States.
right.
That's a different kind of conservative.
Yeah, they
You
were
know,
always on the verge of seceding from the Union.
right? And they seceded from Mexico. I mean, they
Yeah,
they wanted to be
their own
their own
country.
nation. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I was just wondering because with usually with people who've grown up in different states, one of them becomes like home and becomes like what they identify with. But I listen to your voice and it's like, yeah, New Yorker. You're no.
Yeah, yeah. I don't want to be. Actually, I would. Because I've stayed in other places. I'm out of Florida. I love in the Keys. That's where I would be if I could. My wife keeps me here. We have it's the grandson. First, he's got to be in school. Then he's got to graduate school. Then he's got to get married. Then he's got to die of old age before we can move. You know what I mean? It's it's like it's never gonna happen. It's always the goalposts keep moving. It's like we can move when he turns 5 and he starts kindergarten. Oh no, we can't move now. We wait till he graduates elementary school. Okay. Wait till he graduates high school.
Well,
Wait till he gets married.
at this rate, that section of uh, I guess what's it called, the Long Island Sound.
Yeah.
But any minute now, that's going to like wash away that part of New York anyway, and you'll be
Oh no,
floating
no.
down toward Florida anyway.
No, no. The issue with that because I'm right on the sound,
Yeah.
and it's 495 feet below me, so it's not the water's not going to rise up here. It's not coming
Oh,
up 495 feet. On the South Shore, it's flat, and you have the Atlantic Ocean, and that's where the biggest damage comes. The sound was only an issue during Sandy when the winds were so strong and the tides were at their most that it blew in the water in the right in the the apex of it, right in Manhattan and stuff. But out on Long Island, we're untouchable by it. And during Sandy, I would basically the only house on Long Wall, my neighborhood was the only neighborhood on Long Island. It didn't feel anything. We're 495 feet above the water. Nothing's gonna happen here.
I
And
didn't
the
even
water all
realize.
runs downhill when the rains come. We're on the top of the hill, so look out below. Hello. Yeah.
Now, I, I, um, I want to give people a sample of your show. There are many samples out there. Uh, and so what we have two samples, and what we're going to do, the first one we're going to do is a few minutes long. It's it's a right after you just did a show. No, you just did a show without a shower. You're performing a show without a shower. You know what I'm talking about. So if
Yeah.
you want to set that up, you can.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Oh, okay. You did a show and you had this picture of this. You're playing guitar. And there's a picture of a woman standing behind you doing this, and and her husband got a little upset with you
Oh,
because he thought that
wow.
she wanted to sleep with you,
Oh yeah.
and she goes, "I wouldn't sleep with him. He stinks."
I wouldn't sleep with him with what? What did I say?
She said that she
Oh, he
wouldn't sleep with
stinks.
you
Oh
because you
yeah,
stink.
now I remember that show. Well, wow, there's so many. Again, yeah, but
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly. We were at a restaurant, and I had done a daytime gig and basically sweated in that whole thing. And I didn't have time to take a shower on the way to the other gig. And I got out and I could smell myself. I was like, man, I need a shower. And then my lead singer kept this girl was like partying with us, and her husband was getting jealous anyway. She was partying with the
Well, I just let me cut you off here because that's you're about to tell the story that I got the clip for.
okay, so yeah, so
We'll do
that's
the-
it. Basically,
yeah.
I got there and I knew I stunk, and the girl wanted to flirt.
Okay. So I'm going to do that story for everybody real quick,
Yeah.
which we dubbed. Um, I may have the wrong. No, I may have just set up the wrong thing. Something. Forget it. We'll find out now because my notes here. We'll see. We'll
All
see.
right. All of those things. To, being okay with a dick in your face. Hey, if a little dick in your face is gonna bother you, this isn't the place to work. Imagine that. Imagine you go into let's just say you're gonna apply for a job at McDonald's as a burger flipper or a drive-through window cashier. and they tell you, well, part of the job is, yeah, the boss is going to come over and stick his dick in your face, and you have to accept it. You don't think there would be now? McDonald's obviously deeper pockets. There's going to be lawsuits no matter what. There's going to be lawsuits. McDonald's probably gets lawsuits about frivolous things constantly, so something like that. But I can't imagine that whatever state he's operating at. I don't know. Is he in Texas? He's still in California. Where the fuck is he now? But yeah, listen, Texas might just say, it's fine. That's fine. Let them stick dicks in people's faces. I don't think California would go for it. I don't know. I don't follow, where he's at. But I think I'm under the impression that he might have moved to Texas to escape California's um, income tax thing, where it's 13. I think it's 13% state income tax, which is really high. And a lot of people move to Texas where there's no. That's why Rogan went to Texas. It wasn't, for the lifestyle. He claimed it was because of all the homeless in LA. What it was with Rogan, he got $120 million contract from Spotify and didn't want California taking 13% of that. I go to Texas and save, $1.3 million or whatever the fuck it was. No, more than that. 13 million dollars is what he was saving. So yeah, that's your incentive right there. Anyway, I don't know where Crowder is. Bottom line, I don't know how I went down this whole way. We were talking about Rumble numbers being fake. Crowders have dropped off. Doesn't make sense that Rumble would pay Crowder millions of dollars to be on their network as their prime attraction to right wing. I don't know, right wing listeners. I don't know what they are. Uh, People who want to get their opinions or talking points from a right wing source. I guess Crowder is a star. I don't know. I mean, listen, when he was on you, and I always suspected that his numbers were inflated when he was on YouTube, but I thought that was probably his father's doing. This is just my guessing now. I don't have any fucking data or any claims to back this up, but I always suspected his father was behind propping up his career in a lot of ways. He has a lot of daddy issues. There's no doubt about it. And daddy was his executive producer and all that kind of stuff. So I thought his numbers were inflated on YouTube. He was getting 6 million per episode. Now he flaunted that a lot, which would because I couldn't tell you what my average views are because they're not consistent, and I'd have to really do some deep math to go and figure out an average because every day numbers are vastly different on every different platform that we're on. But I couldn't give you those numbers. But he seemed to know them like off the top of his head, which you know kind of suggests that he might be behind manipulating them. I don't know. It seemed that way to me. Anyways, when he went to Rumble, immediately dropped from 6 million to 3 million, and now down to about a half a million. If that were me, I would be packing it in, thinking I'm done. I mean, listen, half a million views from my perspective, that's a lot. I mean, for me, that would be like a half a million more than I have now. Honestly, wow. It's interesting to see myself just rambling about, stream of consciousness. Whatever comes into my empty brain just comes out of my mouth. It's interesting to watch.
Hi, I'm GD Fenderson, certified forensic humorist and host of Done Way Past Funny. You have just watched part one of our interview with the Mind Dog, Matt Nappo. Please join us for part two, and when you come back, bring a friend.